This is the Behind the Line podcast, and this is Pacific Northwest Headline News for Friday, April 29th, 2022. Seattle City Attorney Ann Davidson has issued a formal request to Seattle Municipal Court that would allow her office to prosecute repeat offenders of serious crimes instead of sending them to a community court that seeks to release people first. Launched 2 years ago, Seattle Community Court is intended to be an alternative to jail for people with low-level misdemeanor charges, connecting them to housing assistance, employment support, and drug treatment. In order to make a real impact on public safety, Davidson said it's critical that the city's attorney's office be allowed to fulfill its obligation to prosecute the misdemeanor crimes repeatedly occurring on the streets. In establishing the High Utilizer Initiative, Davidson's office said it's identified 118 individuals who have been responsible for over 2,400 criminal cases over the past 5 years. She's already getting pushback from the public defender's office. My guess is this will not happen. Public defender's office would rather see these criminals on the streets committing crime after crime after crime. Jurors in the rape trial of a former Idaho lawmaker are weighing whether the case involves power in the wrong hands used to harm a 19-year-old female intern or consensual sex after a friendly dinner date. The jury of 6 men and 6 women are both takes during closing arguments Thursday after a dramatic 3-day trial in which the young woman fled the witness stand at one point during testimony, saying, "I can't do this." Aaron Von Ellinger, 39, has pleaded not guilty to felony charges of rape and sexual penetration with a foreign object. Both charges carry a maximum penalty of up to life in prison, and he maintains he had consensual sex with the 19-year-old legislative intern. Doe told her supervisor, said Von Ellinger, who was then a Republican representative from Lewiston, raped her in March 2021 at his Boise apartment after the two had dinner at a restaurant. Von Eller resigned from the House of Representatives last year after a legislative ethics committee recommended that he be banned from the state house because of his conduct with the girl. She's been the victim of many doxing incidents after her information was published when this story became public. Just another dirtbag politician. I certainly hope he gets what's coming to him. Woke Washington Governor Jay Inslee has signed a bill into law that will remove the word marijuana from the state revised code of Washington. According to Cairo News, supporters of the bill say the word marijuana has a long history of racism. The word is derived from Spanish and has long been associated with criminality because it was a criminal act to smoke it. The term marijuana itself is pejorative and racist, said Washington State Representative Melanie Morgan during testimony in 2021. Morgan was a sponsor of the bill and said that as recreational marijuana use became more popular, it was negatively associated with Mexican immigrants. Maybe that's because that's where most of it came from. These are the kind of things they worry about in the state of Washington. The Washington State Supreme Court on Thursday unanimously rejected an effort to recall Democratic Governor Jay Inslee over his handling of the coronavirus pandemic. The justices upheld a Thurston County Superior Court decision that the charges made against Inslee did not provide factually or legally sufficient grounds to support a recall campaign. The recall petition was brought by a citizen group called Washingtonians to Recall Inslee. It alleged that the governor's orders limiting activities and gatherings during the pandemic interfered with their rights. No kidding. But why would you expect any corrupt court in the state of Washington to side with the citizens for anything? And a federal judge has dismissed a class action lawsuit that was filed by opponents of a mandatory payroll premium to fund Washington State's delayed long-term care program, saying the court did not have jurisdiction because it was a state tax. The ruling filed Monday by Judge Thomas Zilli of the U.S. District Court of the Western District of Washington in response to the November lawsuit filed on behalf of 3 businesses in the state and 6 individuals who claim that the program, known as the Washington Cares Fund, violates a federal law that forbids the state from passing any law that requires employees to participate in a plan that provides sickness or medical benefits. The judge went on to say that any lawsuit against this or any legal challenge to Washington carers must be brought in state court. The first in-nation program that created a defined benefit to help offset the cost of long-term care was delayed by 18 months following legislative action in January. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Oregon's soft-on-crime, moronic Democratic Governor Kay Brown has been assailed for recently granting clemency to a convict serving life with no parole in the 1994 cold-blooded murder of a teenager without telling the victim's family. Kyle Hedquist, then 17, led 19-year-old Nikki Thrasher down a remote logging road and shot her in the back of the head because he feared she might tell police about burglaries he had committed. He was convicted of murder in 1995 and sentenced to life behind bars without the possibility of parole. However, earlier this month, Brown granted the killer clemency, sparking a wave of criticism from prosecutors, law enforcement, politicians, and Thrasher's family. Governor Brown says that she's comparing granting clemency to these people like Joe Biden did, where he granted clemency to 78 people, although those were all for nonviolent crimes. She went on to say teenagers, even those who have committed terrible crimes, have a unique capacity for growth and change. We are a state and nation of second chances, Brown said on social media. In 2012 ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court said that only the rare, irredeemable federal juvenile cases should result in life in prison. Honestly, I hope this comes back to bite her. This guy is going to reoffend. Unfortunately, she can't be held responsible for that. And the Oregon Court of Appeals on Wednesday overturned a $1.1 billion verdict against the state of Oregon over its forest management practices, the latest development in a decades-long dispute over the best use of vast tracts of forest land that cover much of the state's rural areas. A Linn County jury found in 2019 that Oregon breached its contract with 13 rural counties and 151 local taxing districts by failing to maximize timber harvests on state forests over the last 2 decades. The counties have said Oregon must manage more than 700,000 acres of state forest land for maximum timber revenue, while the State Department of Forestry believes it has the discretion to manage the land for wildlife and recreation. More woke courts. California has a $68 billion budget surplus, but do you think they're going to give that back to any taxpayers in California? Nope. California lawmakers appear unlikely to pause the annual summer increase in the state's gasoline tax ahead of May 1st deadline, Governor Gavin Newsom's office said on Monday. Newsom, a Democrat, had previously expressed support for helping California motorists experiencing pain at the pump by waiting to implement a 5.6% tax hike scheduled to take effect on July 1st. The tax is used to fund roads and other infrastructure projects. The state's legislative analyst's office projected the tax will generate about $8.8 billion in revenue during the 2021-2022 fiscal year. The lawmakers will almost certainly fail to stop the gas tax increase from taking place because they would need to pass legislation by Sunday in order to do so, and have yet to introduce a bill on the matter. California already has the nation's highest gas tax at 51 cents per gallon. The levy will rise to 53.9 cents per gallon at the beginning of July. It's nice to be a Californian. California state Republicans introduced a bill in January that would immediately suspend the gas tax in response to the surging prices and backfill the projects from the state's surplus, but the proposal failed to secure enough votes in March. Just keep thinking that those Democrats care about you. They don't. This has been Pacific Northwest Headline News. For more, visit BehindTheLinePodcast.com. Thanks for listening.